So here we are in Atlas, and I'm just opening one of the skilled training projects, which you find on the companion website on the book. So skilled training, well, 5.1 I think it is, and 5.2 and 5.4. So I open a copy bundle file, and now Atlas is opening the copy bundle file, and here you see that none of the files will be unbundled because I have the files on my computer. So I'm selecting a location and putting it on the desktop for the HU file now. So to unpack the HU, but don't worry if there's 0 documents will be unbundled in case you have unbundled it already. You probably also have to choose a location for your HU pass, because you're not going to have my pass on your computer. So here the project is open now, and I'm continue to work on that now. So here we have the extreme case of a lumper, somebody who has collected lots and lots of things within one code, and therefore has lots of big codes, so to speak, codes with high frequency, and we need to do something about that. Yeah, so we pick on that first code here, children are hard work, but it has 30 quotation, and I'm showing you what you need to do if you have coded like that, or if some codes are like that. Yeah, and don't wait until you have 66 quotations lumped together, or even more than that. You will see we have to review all of them, and we have to recode all of these quotations. I take away the side panel now to make the list a bit tinier, and we have more space on the screen. The focus here, where I'm going to take apart now, is the but factor. The children are hard work, that's covered with some other codes, but now within those quotations I want to focus on the but factor and see what's good about children, and how we can subdivide those 30 quotations in basically reasons maybe still why we have children, even though they are hard work. That means we do have to review all of these 30 quotations, and there are different ways of doing that. Yeah, we can either read it on screen, or we can export the data. So here this shows you how to read on screen within the context of the data and the codes that are also attached there. You go through and read through the quotation, take some notes. That's one way of doing it. And the other way is, if you rather like to work on paper, or just read it in editor, so you don't have to click all the time. I'm going to just kind of focus on certain aspects. Here I know the data, so I know what to look for. So here I'm going to mark some of the text here. Soon made my life richer and filled with laughter. So you could actually note that down as one of the positive aspects, and just take some notes for the moment. Here we have a statement here, ruined everything in the nicest way. So it, in a way, gave me, it's a difficult statement to kind of put into something, but maybe the positive emotion that a child gives us here. So if we move on, the most challenging but rewarding job. So we have, keep in mind, a reward. It wouldn't trade it for anything. So trade, reward, kind of very similar already. And so we now have the next quote, and see what we get here. A sense of fulfillment in life. So we have the issue of fulfillment again, and yeah, here we always have to look Again, life is much fuller and richer. It should be here in that next statement. So we had fuller and richer already comes up again and again. Yeah, and the more you go through, things just start to repeat itself. So we can start collecting things again, but now on the sub level. It's about pure joy. So we have positive emotions again. So what's here in the next one? Far outweighed that many times. So we have greatest joy. We have this rewarding factor here again. You wouldn't trade it. Again, a minute. So the trade of the reward we have coming up again and again. I'm just going through a few more quotes to show you that now, once you read it focused on one particular aspect, yeah, you have kind of pre-collected something or made a pre-selection, and now it's much easier to find subcodes in that sense. But as mentioned, don't overdo it. Don't wait until you have 100 quotations to find your subcodes. So when we're going highlighting here something in that quotation size, like as I mentioned, I'm re-talking through what I recorded before because I hate doing it again. So we now looked through a few of the quotation, jotted down some ideas for subcodes, and now we can enter them here in our code list, but we could also open the Memo Manager and then enter the codes here. So I'm creating a new memo, which is called code list, and there I just write down my sorts. And I'd like to do this here in the Memo Manager because I can now add the prefixes either with columns or underscore, whatever you prefer, and you can do work with copy and paste. Yeah, and you don't have to retype that all the time when you add the code. So what did we have? We had fulfillment. Then, I actually don't do copy and paste here. I retyped it, virtual life. But if you have more codes, you can do copy and paste for the prefixes. Rewarding and rewarding trade-off. Yeah, we also remember you have your definition fields. You can always then describe what you mean with a certain term. So we have yeah, but positive emotions. We leave it like that with 4 codes. It's just about pointing out how it works, how you create subcategories, and saving the memo now in a minute. I'm thinking about whether I missed a 5th one that we came about or across. But I think I couldn't remember a 5th one. So now I'm saving the memo. And under miscellaneous, you do have an option to create codes from selected memo. And now here they are. We imported 4 codes into our code list. Yeah, now we don't have the main category name yet, so I start renaming that again using also capital letters, doing 2 empty spaces. You see that? So if I now press F5, F5 is for resorting the code list, that it's all sorted in the same order. And now I can also set a color, so then I can see everything that has a color is already sorted and structured, and those without a color, they are black. And now I'm noticing that I've only 3 subcodes, but we had 4 before. I'll notice that a bit later because I've misspelled it. So that also speaks for using copy and paste for the prefix. So this cannot happen. So now I'm renaming their hard work but. Hard but work, yes. So hard work but, and give it a color as well. Press F5 to resort. So to get it into my code list and give it a color. So now I do have my category code with 30 quotations, and I have 4 subcodes, but they're all without content. So what I need to do now, I need to go through all 30 quotations and drag drop the subcode onto the main code. Yeah, and I think the first one here was rewarding, but I don't read it now, so I'm just drag dropping so you kind of see the idea behind it, and it doesn't fit the proper context now. So you go through all of these quotations and drag drop, exchanging the main category for the subcategory. So what I'm actually doing now here, show you a little trick. I'm creating code families anyway for categories, and code families, their purpose is always to be set as filters. So I'm setting a global filter now here, and you see in the margin area we only have now the hardware but codes and none of the other ones, so we can't drag drop it onto a wrong code if it's very crowded. So now it's very easy to see, and you can drag drop onto it. So we don't want to have the main category code standing there next to the subcode, because the code family basically collects all of the quotations again in case you need all the hard work but together. So now you see here the main category code is emptied out and the content moves into the subcodes. Yeah, and then of course you have to do this for all 30 quotations. It might be that not all of the 30 quotations now already fit into your subcode, then just leave it in the main category code. Yeah, remember we do this not after everything is coded, we do this after the first point of saturation, after you have no further ideas about codes. So you can now continue to code, and maybe some of the subcodes fit, and then you come across some sentences that are hardware budget, but you don't know where to put them yet. So just put them into the main category code. Use that for collecting again. And once you have 8, 9, 10, 12 quotation collected there again, review it. And now it's much easier if you have collected a few instances of something to think of fitting subcategories. Maybe you have to rename the existing ones. Now maybe you can add a new one. So it's more than one cycle. Yeah, we have seen the term first cycle coding before, that is the first cycle, but now we're going through a second cycle, and you probably need a third and fourth cycle. Yeah, once you move on and on. And yeah, we had the hermeneutic cycle here again, because with every further cycle you come closer to what you actually want to represent here. And so there is the general idea of hermeneutics we do see also in this process, a general analytical strategy. So I'm closing this project now to show you the other side. Yeah, if you're not a lumper, if you're somebody coding very close to the data. So open skill training 5.4 and 5.5. I blow up my screen now so I can better see what's on there. Couldn't read that before. So I'm unpacking the copy bundle file again, dropping the HU onto my desktop because I want to clean it up later again. And here it is. So now, if I open the code list, you see what's happening. We have 47 codes, and each code only has been applied very few times. Yeah, maximum probably I guess 3 times. So we have a long list of codes, and this is only one aspect of it. Yeah, and we have 10 or 12 aspects in the whole data set. And if you have 50 codes for each aspect, well, we easily have 500 codes for this very, very small data set. So we have to do something about it. You can start like that if that feels close to how you would like to work. And it might not be that you always work like that, but it may be that data set kind of leads you to do this because you're not very familiar with it and you want to do open coding, you have no framework to adjust to, and so on. Yeah. So these codes have been particularly selected for representing positive and negative effects of parenting. So we can now actually look at just the codes, and of course it's easy to look at the content as I just have been showing by just double clicking on a code. I'm just working with the labels right now, but of course there's always the data behind it, and you can query the data and look for the actual content once you start aggregating your data. This is what we're going to do now. Yeah, so we now just focus on the labels and think about that. So what I'm showing now is that all codes that actually deal with I'm becoming a better person. Yeah, I'm more deeply fulfilled and no, I'm becoming a better person, but there must be other ones I'm going to show that relate to these relate all to positive effects of parenting and the deferral of things and drop in marital quality are negative ones. So what I'm collecting here now are all the positive effects of parenting. And what you can do once you have selected a few, you drag it over to the left side to the family group family side and already create a family. And then you can continue selecting more of the positive effects code, because as we know, if you hold down the control key and suddenly your mouse moves somewhere, your finger moves somewhere, all your selection is gone. That's why I suggest you do it in steps. Yeah, once you have selected a few, create your family and then continue to select it so you don't lose your selection. So I move down now, and I'm looking for the other ones. The less carefree I leave on purpose in order to show you how to get out a code that you don't want to have in a code family, because it can happen that you pick on something or change your mind later on and then you want to move something out of a family. So let's go through here. More accurate self-perception. This is more stress, more conflicts. No, it's all not positive, but more mature is positive. Personal growth is positive. Questioning yourself and life values, richer life. So these are all positive effects. So we're going to move them over to the positive effects family. So we can now set that family as filter again. So we have that one we don't want. So we select it and then we can right click on that family and remove selected item from family. This option has been implemented a bit later. It wasn't there from the very beginning. So I can't quite remember the service pack when it came. It might be 7.16 or something like that. The current version in April 2014 is 7.18. So if you're not at 7.1.8 right now, please do update. And in any case, whether you have that option or not, and to see what the newest version is. You could remove items before we had that context menu option, but it only worked via the Code Family Manager. Yeah, so now this is a bit easier to do. So now we have made a pre-selection of all the aspects that are positive and can now focus on those and see where do we have codes that we can aggregate. And we want to get rid of some of these codes. Of course, people are afraid of doing that because, as we will see, we will lose those codes. But, well, we lose the codes, but we will not lose the analytic power. We will increase analytic power if we do so. And yeah, and it's always, once you have created something, it's always very difficult to let go. But you have to let go, otherwise you end up with 1,000 codes and you get lost and you end up with Excel again because you get lost in the software. So if you go through here, we see a number of codes that relate to personal growth. So we already have personal growth. So I already got the idea, okay, there is something about personal growth. You see, they have collected 3 quotations, but the other ones, while coding, I just coded very close to the data. They kind of belong to that. So now I actually can merge the others into it. But if I don't set a global filter, I get the whole list. So of all codes and potentially the other 500 codes. So I do set a global filter again. So I can really focus on my pre-selection of positive effects of parenting. So now I've set right click and select merge. Then only the positive effects appear, and I can select those that relate to personal growth. See, becoming a better person, getting to know oneself has brought the best in me, more than I was before. more accurate self-perception, and understanding. No, understanding my parents better doesn't belong there. Questioning your life and values. So now you see what's happening. The whole list is now much shorter. We only have 13 codes left, and here we have collected some more on the personal growth. So we have 9 quotations here. So now we can look through our reduced code list and see, are there other elements we can actually aggregate? Where are there things, where are there more things that we can aggregate? Here we have, for example, some instances on improved relationship, like close marriage relation, love my parents more, better relationships, or understand my parents better than before. So I rename the code now to improved relations and merge those other ones that are similar, speak to the same aspects, into it. So whether you rename it before or after merging doesn't matter. So I'm looking now through with some more instances. There are only 3 instances here, but you know, we code on and then we might collect some further instances. So I clicked F5, so this is now sorted in alphabetic order again. So you don't actually have to be afraid of merging, even though the underlying codes are lost in a sense. But once you double click on a code now, and we have collected here 3 quotations, I mean that's not that many yet, and the other one's 9, you can double click and you add the original context. So people are often afraid of merging because they feel, they lose something. It's always difficult to let go of something that you have created. But yeah, it's very difficult to deal with 1,000 codes, and you cannot run any analysis. So if you watch, or any further analysis, if you watch the analysis videos, you will notice that you can't really, what do you want to query if each code is just an instance. So here I'm showing now that double click on a code and you're right at the original data and not at your summary of the data. So that's actually much better. Yeah, you have a much more succinct code list that you can work with, that you can do further analysis on, and you right at your data. So here now I show the 9 quotations of personal growth. So it's not your own summary wording, it's the wording of your respondents or whatever, it's in the data, and that's much better, in addition to the gain of what you can do with the coding system. So now here I'm merging now everything on fulfillment, I think, and richer life for the purpose of this exercise. No, I did that was positive emotions I merged, now I'm doing the one on fulfillment and richer life. So we're not arguing here about content. Maybe you might say, well, it's all not the same, meaningful life and richer life, but just for the sake of showing you how to actually get it down. And if you have aggregated too much, if you later on feel like, well, there's 2 different concepts, you can also subdivide, as I showed you before. So it's an ongoing process until you actually feel like the codes are right now, the way you want to have them. So I renamed them into and added this meaningful life into it. And always remember, you have the definition field. You can describe what your ideas are behind the codes. Yeah, it's just in the bottom of your list here, and you can write it. So in order for these codes to show up in the list together, we have to work with the prefixes now. And now I'm actually using copy and paste here. So of course you can do that as well. So I'm copying it now. I think I didn't press the control key. I pressed some other buttons here because I wasn't only watching the screen and not my keyboard. So I think I have to do this again now. Control C. and now it works. And Control V, and to add the prefixes here. So once I take out the filter, all of these codes are in alphabetic order. For what we're still missing is the main category, which we have to add now manually as a new code. And as always, I use capital letters, effects positive, and now it shows up at the top. Yeah, and added 2 spaces again. And I give it a color of its own. What do I choose here now? I think it's going to end up being pink. And now I can take out the filter, right click on your family and show all codes, and voila, we see our sorted and structured codes already, and all the other ones are still unsorted in the list, the black ones, and we can now continue to focus on those and to get it done step by step to move into a structured and sorted code list. Yeah, so the colors you can use for different purposes throughout the project, but this is one way I like to use them, so I can really see what's already sorted and structured and what I still need to work on. So now we have to wait what's happening on the screen. I'm showing you now the already coded quick tour project, which you can also access from the help menu, where you can see the whole structure in place. So all the categories here, and here I use always like most different colors. So if it's a light green and dark green, so you don't see the difference. So I use orange and green, and then blue again, and so on. So sometimes the colors match meaning, but oftentimes it's also just for visibility in the code manager. Yeah. And here for the effects of parenting, I use a brighter orange and lighter orange, because it's the same kind of category still, but we have 2 aspects here. And in some other data sets, actually, I make 2 categories out of that. I think in the book it is the case. I actually work with it a bit differently. Yeah, so the code families on the right hand side are also indicated as soon as I highlight a code. Here you see that bright yellow square. And in terms of numbers, I'm always saying 150, 250 codes. Some project need some more codes. It always depends on the variability of your data. And 12 to 25 categories. What I'm pointing out here is my attribute codes, which are necessary for this type of data, because if you have block data and I needed a code for gender, or whether somebody has children or doesn't have children, and I coded for a number of children and gender of children and so on. So here between the lines we always have a different post. It's not case-based data. We have 150 people within one document, so we need to code for that. Yeah, and here you can see the codes on the side that indicate gender, for example, female, and this person doesn't have children yet, so I could kind of generate that information from the context of the data. If you have case-based data, like classical interview study, or importing surveys, like this example here in the example project, then you have to work with PD families. So we have case 3, and you see all the socio-demographic variables for case 3. So depending on your data, you have to work differently. You either have to code for things like male or female, but don't do this for case-based data. I see that at times that people just code header information. That is not very useful in terms of querying the data later. So if you have interview data or journal articles where you have the article, the author, the year, or documents by time or documents by type of documents, whether they are letters or whether they're from the internet or wherever they're coming from, sources, All of these are indicators for PD families. But if you have different types of data within one document, for example, then you have to solve it via coding. And this also has an effect on the tools you're going to use later. So we will analyze the case-based data of the sample data set differently than the block data. Yeah, we will use the Code Co-occurrence Explorer for comparing the attributes with some contents, whereas we need the CaseBased table to do that with case-based data. Where we'll show that in the videos on analysis, where you will see the difference in how to handle different types of data.